Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey David, how you doing tonight?
Good. I feel my I've always this year especially it feels like I've been kind of a glass half full Oilers fan. There's been a lot of down times, and there's only once I think where I truly got pessimistic about the fortunes of the team. And that was in Tippett's last couple games where the team absolutely fell apart. But last weekend I'm on Oilers Now every Wednesday, and I was on the show, and Bob Stauffer was asking me if they should make any trades, for the deadline, and I felt kind of stupid because I was thinking, yeah, they should go for it, they should still try to win the Stanley Cup, and this is before the wins against Washington and Tampa Bay, and tonight's victory against Detroit. So I was feeling kind of stupid thinking, saying this on the radio, like, I think they should try to do something to improve because I still think they can win. So now I'm feeling vindicated a little bit. So and I don't know why I was still optimistic last week because it was kind of a down moment. But this team is packed with talent. There is a lot of scoring talent, and we saw it a little bit tonight. They were able to outscore the Detroit Red Wings in the end in a very weird and woolly game, to say the least. It was just a game with no flow. It made no sense. Most of the goals made no sense, and the Oilers won it anyway. It wasn't like the wins over Washington and Tampa, which were brilliant, which were absolutely fantastic hockey from the Oilers. This wasn't that, but it was a big victory.
It was. You take the 2 points out of that game and run. I was going to say get out of Dodge, but they're in Dodge for 2 more games after this. But this was a game where Oilers came out hard early and got the lead, and then proceeded to spend about the next 50 minutes trying desperately not to hold on to it. Is what it seemed like. Man, that was just so frustrating to watch the team. Playing with the lead. Anyway, we'll get into that in a little bit, but we'll take the 2 points and uh, on to the next, and hopefully that they'll learn some lessons along the way because they sure need to.
Hey, I see the Avalanche are up on the Kings 3-0 too
Yep,
here, so that's some good news.
yep, yep.
Yes. Oh, Leafs 4, Stars 0.
Yep.
That's good. That's
Golden
good. I've
Knights
been.
got whooped
Yes. What did
again,
they lose? 7-3.
7-3
Yes.
Winnipeg.
And of course, the Oilers won 7-5 over Detroit. And the grade A shots were pretty close in that game. They were 16-15 in favor of the Oilers, with the five alarm shots being 11-7 for the Oilers. So the grade A shots we rate a grade A shot is above 20% chance of going in. That's a grade A shot. And a five alarm shot is 33% plus. On a shootout in the NHL, you have a 33% chance of scoring. So it's kind of like having a breakaway. And some shots, like for instance Yamamoto's goal, which we're going to get to in a little bit, that's like a five alarm shot because it's actually far harder to stop
Yeah.
than any breakaway. It's just you're not stopping it if he executes it. It's going in. Bruce, this is our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast. What is your good thing, I should say?
Hey, yeah, my good thing is the opening 5 minutes of the first period. When the Oilers came out and just absolutely dominated play in Red Wing territory, they outshot the Red Wings 6-0. They pumped 1, 2, and 3 goals past a long time Oilers thwart, um, Grice in nets for Thomas Grice in nets for Detroit, who's never lost to Edmonton in regulation. And guess what? He still never lost to Edmonton in regulation because the 3 Edmonton got on him were nowhere near enough to actually win this game at the end of the day. Uh, but Edmonton's performance in that early going, I mean, the goals, I don't think any of the goals was that pretty,
They
but they
weren't.
were just hard working play. Grice leaked out a horrible rebound on the McDavid goal, and
Yeah.
uh, Hyman beat him short side on a backhand. I'm sure if the uh, Detroit bloggers were doing the same kind of thing we are, they would probably find some fault with Thomas Greiss on one or two of those goals. But the fact is, Edmonton just came out and completely took the game over for those 5 minutes, and the shot clock was 6-0. The scoreboard was a 3-0, and the goalie was on his way to the bench, and all was well with the world. And all those predictions all day, I listened to sports radio, and I heard pundit after pundit come on and say, "Yeah, this is a game the Oilers should win handily." And one score I heard was 6-1, and somebody was even pondering whether the Oilers might reach double digits against Detroit, the way Toronto did a couple of weeks ago. And they actually didn't come that far away from it in the end, and it was a similarly spectacularly sloppy game as that 10-7 Toronto win over Detroit, which I had on my PVR, and I went through a little bit of it this morning just to see how it got away so bad. And uh, it anyway, the good thing was 3-0 after 5 minutes, and
They
the
were
bad thing
rewarded.
will be what happened next.
They were rewarded, and it was good because I was kind of a relief because when we all have this, well, I have this PTSD about the start of the game now. Like I'm just on the edge of my seat thinking, when's it going to go south? Like, and if it doesn't go well, I'm just waiting for it to go bad. So for them to get rewarded, like that first goal was just like unbelievable. Like they're working hard, they're playing hard, and they actually
Hmm.
got a goal. Like that's fantastic. That was Devon Shore tipping it in. And he won the face-off. He started off the virtuous cycle with a face-off win.
The hard face-off win where he had to dive forward to pull it back to the point. That was a good play by Shore.
Yeah, it was. And so fantastic way to start the game and unexpected because it's the Oilers and they never do that. So, but but they still found a way to make an Oiler of a game out of it. Uh, Bruce, my good thing is Kailer Yamamoto. I just thought he had some great shifts, and he's looking. I think he's looking really good on McDavid's line. He's a smart player. He's a good offensive player, and he's looking good in front of the net. Like you don't exactly imagine Kailer Yamamoto as the net front presence. Doing the total eclipse of the sun screen on the goalie on the power play because he can't. But he brings his own package of assets that makes him very valuable in front of the net. He fantastic at winning loose pucks, very quick, and outstanding in tight at getting off shots, which is probably an underrated ability in front of the net like that because quarters are tight. It's hard to get off shots. But he, more than any other Oiler, seems to have that ability in that tight little space to get a stick on the ice and get it on the puck, that's slithering and sliding through there. And everyone's scrambling and desperate to clear it. The defenders are, but he's able to get a stick on it. And he had a number of good power play chances on net, three in a row at the end of the first period, and he put the last one in. Absolutely sizzling pass, the old cross ice dart from Connor McDavid right on his stick, which Yamamoto had on the ice, didn't go under his stick, had firmly on the ice, and put it right in the net.
Did he have his
That
skate behind it again like he did the
he
last time?
I
He
don't
was
know.
trying to do that.
He didn't. No, I was looking for that too, Bruce, but he
Uh-huh.
didn't. He just was able to get it with his stick and put it in the net. So that was such a key goal because the Oilers had given up the one goal, and you just felt like more bad things were on their way. But if they didn't get the next goal, and they did, Kailer Yamamoto got it. I think I heard it's his 14th goal of the year.
14 goals, and then later he got his 11th assist, and he's starting to pile up the points a little bit after a fairly lengthy drought for much of the year. He's starting to chip away. 3 games in a row with the goal, mind you, one was the empty net goal, but hey, they count him, right? But
Yeah, they count him.
he's jumping on this opportunity to play with. I mean, that was pretty high end line mates, Connor McDavid and Evander Kane. That uh, he he's got a range of talent, a couple bigger guys that he's playing with, and he can be a pretty good glue player, Yamamoto, when he's on his game. He really is very proactive in making things happen and working pucks loose and getting them onto the sticks of teammates as he did on Kane's first goal.
They have got three wingers that they might want to sign this offseason: Kane, Puljujarvi, and Yamamoto. And it's Yamamoto's now making things interesting, I think, in terms of because there's probably only the money to sign one of them, maybe two, if they can
Hmm.
figure out a way to really stretch and maybe move out a contract or two. They might be able to sign two of three. So yeah, for a long time this year, it looked like a given that it would be Puljujarvi that would be the obvious, definite signing, and I think he still is. But we'll see. It could change, and I'm hoping they can still sign two of the three. Um, find the money to do that.
Ryan McLeod's playing wing right now, and they got to sign him too. So I don't know if you want to
He,
put him on that
oh
list,
my
but
goodness, is his ELC up?
yes, this is last year of his
Yeah,
ELC.
it's not
They
going to
should
be
be able
as
to extend him for cheap because
yeah,
he's unlike Yamamoto and Puljujarvi,
yeah.
who've already gone through a second contract, have arbitration rights and so on. Those are a little trickier.
He's
But
he's his points per 60 isn't great. I don't think either, Bruce. Like he's not ripping it. Like he's a good player and you want to bring him back and he's got the potential in a couple years to be in the same position these guys are in. But these guys, one of them is going to cash in and get $4 or $5 million a year. I think that's pretty obvious. And then they'll see if they have money for another one of them. But yeah, McLeod isn't in the same boat because he's just off his ELC, but he's not
right.
yet on his next contract after that.
Evander Kane's points per 60 are nothing special either, by the way.
It's
It's just
correct. 1.5.
1.39 before tonight, and they probably went up a little bit.
Yeah, 1.5 right at this point. And Yamamoto's are still nothing special, and neither is Puljujarvi's.
Mhm.
Neither of them are having great seasons, scoring at even strength, putting up points at even strength at this point. According to the way we're measuring the game though, looking at their grade A shots plus minus, Puljujarvi's having a fantastic season. He really is. Like he's just a fantastic, solid two-way hockey player. So he's the obvious choice for me at this point of the three.
I agree.
And Yamamoto and Kane are similar, and they're both having good years. They're not. They're Yamamoto's really improved in the last 15 games. He's gone on a very strong spell of two-way hockey, and he's put himself into the conversation. All right,
And
Bruce, you're
Kane, for his part, he scored, didn't he get his 10th goal into the empty net in his 21st game? So
yeah,
that's a quarter of a 40-goal season, you know. But
yeah.
I'm, I'm seeing things to like and not like about Kane's game, but put pucks in the net is one of the things I like.
I mostly like his game. I really like his toughness on the boards, and I think he's a smart player. And yeah, I don't see that much not to like at this point. Like from what he is, I don't like his age in terms of a long-term
Yeah.
contract. Bruce, what's your bad thing?
Well, it's most of the 55 minutes after the first five, frankly. And right when it was 3-0 and they blew the goalie out, and right then I said to my wife, you know, this is exactly what happened in Washington just before the All-Star break. They got 3 goals in the first 5 minutes. They drove the goalie right out of the game. The other goalie came in, and Edmonton fell asleep, and you know they weren't able to, you know, basically what you'd like to think your team should be able to do if it's a contending team with a 3-goal lead is shut her down and make sure that they don't give away anything, right? I mean, the other team might get a goal or two, but they're not likely to get three if you're the superior team and you pay attention to detail and defense. Well, the Oilers did neither of those latter two things. And in fact, right after the goalie changed, the next 7 shots in a row were by Detroit. And of course, the seventh one went in, and by then it's 3-1 Edmonton, but the shots are already 7-6 Detroit, and they just started mounting them from there. At the end of the night, Detroit had 62% of the shot attempts at even strength, and they had the puck a lot because when Edmonton had it, they didn't manage it very well. And they kept giving it away, coughing it up in their own zone, or a few times the wingers down deep in Detroit's zone would make a prayer pass back to the point and it would get picked off, go the other way. Shore made one of those that led to 2 great chances for Detroit, a shot and a rebound. Cassian made a brutal one where they were working the puck around the boards and he just made this soft pass back somewhere in the general vicinity of the defenseman that got picked off. One pass later, it was a clear-cut breakaway. And I think that was the one where Evan Bouchard came back and lifted the guy's stick, so it didn't even be a shot on net in the end. but just horrible puck management, work it along the boards, but don't be passing it back towards your own net, because those are the plays where you beat your two forward mates and it leads to jailbreaks when you're making, low to high passes in the offensive zone. Be sure they're there and be sure you execute. That wasn't happening. And in the third, it seemed like they couldn't win puck battles along the boards. They couldn't get the puck out of their own zone to save their souls for extended stretches. And it was just it was basically just a big cluster. And Jay Woodcroft, he looked pretty not very happy on the bench, and why would he? I mean, this was a game where the coach is, what the coach has been teaching the team. It didn't seem like any of those lessons sank in. And frankly, my conclusion was from the Washington game where they blew the 3-0 lead and were lucky to win it in the end, they learned absolutely nothing, because the exact same scenario unfolded tonight. And I'd like to think that when you do get a scare like that, or you take a bad loss or something, you learn from it and you grow from it. And here was the same situation, and it wound up the same thing with this big wide open affair with chances at both ends, and the 3-goal lead was just frittered away both times. And I'm left with a very hollow feeling. I'll take the 2 points. I'm not altogether, in fact, I'm not at all convinced that Edmonton was the better team in this game. They were great for 5 minutes, and then Detroit kind of had their, they were. I got to give Detroit all the credit in the world. They kept coming. They played hard.
I'm not quite as down on the Oilers, Bruce, because there were such weird goals against. They truly
Yep.
were. So only one of the 5 Detroit goals came on a 5 alarm shot, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was a grade B shot, the power play goal at the end of the second period from Gagne. Like, I mean, if he had put it over, if he had gone top shelf and put it over Koskinen shoulder, I would have thought, oh, that's it. That was an intended. You really sniped that. Like, but he kind of put it across the crease and it went off his stick and into the net. And then we have a power play goal, which I think bounces off someone in the slot to someone in great shooting position, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's just a little bit of a bad bounce and pounds it into the net. The next goal after that it's the goalie screened, like he's completely screened. I guess you could argue that one is a 5 alarm shot. Like if the goalie is so badly screened he can't see the puck, that's going to go in much of the time. But there was really some soft defending there as well.
Yep.
But my bad thing is the last. So the Oilers they blow the lead and it's 4-4, and then they score again. Right, Kane immediately goes and scores, and that was a weird rebound too, where I think he put it off either the goalie or a player, and it bounced right back to him. And it bounced right back to him, and he got the rebound and put it in. So that was a good bounce for him, and the Oilers get the lead again. They're up 5-4, and you think, okay, finally they're going to settle down. Everything's going to settle down. And then the worst of all the goals comes, and this is it's a co-screw up by Koskinen and Duncan Keith, and Koskinen, who is known for his misadventures with the puck, goes behind the net and stops the puck. But he just seems paralyzed at that point because Duncan Keith's coming in, and Koskinen and Keith have got to communicate, or either that or Koskinen must take command and make a decision. He's got the puck. He's the man. And I think what he's expecting to do is the veteran Duncan Keith to swoop in there, take the puck off him, and solve the problem. But that doesn't happen really, and for whatever reason, it doesn't happen, and they end up spilling the puck into the slot. Koskinen doesn't move the puck, and then Keith kind of bumps it into the slot, and boom, it's in the net. It was a horrible goal, and it makes it 5-5. And again, they've got to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to win this game, and a bumbling, stumbling mistake like that is made, and they almost could have easily lost the game because of it. What you were mentioning, someone was mentioning, if Tippett was coaching this Oilers team, they would have lost this game because it's Woodcroft, they would have won. One thing that Woodcroft did that I don't think Tippett would have done was call the timeout when it was 4-4.
Mm-hmm.
And I really always wondered why Tippett I always felt it was very old school that he never called timeouts during moments of crisis and to calm down the team. And Woodcroft did that. So maybe that was before this play though, so it didn't calm everyone completely. But all's well that ends well. I think the Oilers were the better team, slightly better team tonight, and they deserved at least 1 point, and
Yeah.
they got
Okay.
two. They got two, and so, someone was going to get the other point. Might as well be them because I think they were the slightly better team. So
Yeah. Well, Detroit isn't exactly a defensive uh, powerhouse. But that's where, in the first period, the Oilers had 10 grade A shots and several of them in that early going. And then the second period, they had one. So it was
yeah,
like they completely took their
shut.
foot off the gas. And I mean, they had a chance to, if they wanted to take it to Detroit offensively, they could have put that game away then and there. But they let Detroit hang around and hang around. Then all these foolish plays started happening. And I mean, it wasn't just the goals, though, David. I mean, Koskinen made a diving poke check off of one breakaway.
That was great.
And Bouchard had to make a great defensive save to thwart another one.
Yeah,
And I mean, there was just wide open spaces back there. And that left me extremely nonplussed with the team's overall performance.
that was almost my good thing, that poke check from Koskinen, because it was so not like Koskinen to do that. Like he never does that, like sprawling out there and making that kind of poke check. I mean, that was Jacques Plante stuff, and you just you never see that, but he did it. So good for him. Bruce, what is your numero?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess my number is two, and I'm going to take those 2 points. And we kind of talked about this earlier, but I mean, the Oilers gained 2 points. I'm just going to try and get the updated.
On Vegas? Yeah.
They definitely gained two on Vegas, who have now lost five in a row, all in regulation, and have started to bleed out approximately ever since they added Jack Eichel to the lineup, which take from that what you will, but this cannot be a happy time for Mr. Eichel. Uh, but they gained 2 points on Dallas, who's in the wild card race with them. They're going to gain two on LA, which is really big. That game's still 3-0 in the dying seconds now. Two on Vegas, and the only team that's in the hunt with them that won was Vancouver. That's behind them a little bit.
And Winnipeg.
And I guess Winnipeg's in that same wild card race, but I mean they were the team that beat Vegas. So Winnipeg
Yeah,
beat
we'll take
Vegas
that.
in regulation is the best possible result there. And so now all of a sudden Edmonton's in third place in the Pacific with 70 points in 60 games. Vegas is in fourth with 68 and 62 games. So Oilers have 2 games in hand and 2 point lead on Vegas. And Vancouver's in fifth with 67 and 61 games. So Edmonton has a 3 point lead with 1 game in hand on Vancouver. And just like that, they've gone from being like 3 or 4 points out of the last playoff spot to being, somewhat solidly in third in their own division. They're four behind LA now with a game in hand. So they're closing a little bit of ground there. LA keeps pulling out these miracle wins, but they didn't get one tonight. So
Did they lose yet?
end 3-0 final,
Sweet.
Colorado.
Oh,
So,
that's excellent. So the Oilers have a game in hand then, I
mhm.
guess. Let me
And
just
they're
check up.
four behind Los Angeles with 1 game in hand.
Yeah. So that's good news. So they're, just recently it looked like LA was like getting quite a bit of daylight between them and the Oilers, but
Yes.
it's not the case anymore. And
Yeah.
the Oilers can catch that team. They can't catch the Flames, but they can
No
they can
chance.
they can catch everybody but LA in their own division. And
Hmm.
it would be so sweet if Vegas doesn't make the playoffs. So honestly, I don't like that team.
Yeah,
So
me neither.
yeah, I don't like them.
They were a nice story at first, but they're going to pay the price for, they like to go and get every shiny new toy that's out there. And this year, in order to open up the cap space, they gave away their Vezina trophy winning goalie. I guess where they're struggling now with scores like 7-3 that they lost tonight. They're bleeding at the defensive end and they're scrambling around for goalie help. Well, the guys had the Vezina trophy winner. Maybe you should have kept him.
Greedy guts, Vegas. Bruce, my number is related to Koskinen's propensity for giveaways. So this isn't his total number of turnovers this year. He's made many more than this, but he's made 6 turnovers, which have led to grade A shots against the Oilers. But 4 of them have ended up in the Oilers' net. 4 of his gaffes have ended up in the Oilers' net on turnovers. So that's a really high number for a goalie. And I think I heard one of the broadcasters say something like, under Woodcroft, they're encouraging him not to go out and play the puck so much, like to be very
Mm.
cautious about that. And the play tonight where he made the turnover was a pretty easy play to make. He just kind of froze.
Yeah,
Um, and that's what happened. So this is probably one where they would encourage him to make the play. And of course, there was the stabbing poke check where he comes out of the crease. That's a little different, right? But anyway, it's one misadventure for another with Mikko Koskinen. And Markstrom in Calgary's the same way. Like these big guys, I think they just have struggled. It's a very fast game, the NHL game, and these are goalies. They're not regular players, and I think the game just comes at them awful fast some of the time for these great big guys. So I like I like Koskinen, but maybe it's the right strategy maybe to be conservative about leaving that. Not a bad idea at all. Stay settled in that net, big guy, and good things tend to happen, at least in terms of your one-loss record. So
yeah. I mean, this was the first time in 13 starts that he gave in more than 3 goals. But in those over that, even with tonight's goals against ugliness, he won the game, or he got credit for the win. And Oilers are 10-1-2, I believe, over the 13-game stretch of his most recent start. So, you know, I heard a guy complaining on the post-game show on Chat about how Koskinen is always costing the team goals and games with his gaffes. And yes, there are bad goals from time to time, but he's not been costing them many games.
not lately, no.
Yeah. So
Look at Seattle's record, Bruce. 61 games, 18 victories. Wow. I guess that's what you'd expect from an expansion team. It's just Vegas kind of set the bar a little differently. And
yeah. And here's where
it's
the danger lies in the Oilers' schedule. They had a 3-game season series against Seattle. It's finished. They have a 3-game season series against Colorado, first in the West, and I think first in the league. And they haven't played one game against Colorado yet. So all 3 of those games are upcoming. So the schedule is not as clean as you might like. So they've got some challenges. That said, when you see how the Oilers played against Washington and Tampa Bay versus how they played against Detroit, maybe you're just as happy they're playing tougher teams because they seem to be playing better of late against those teams.
well, geez, I have been bullish on the team all season long, and I think there's a reason for it, Bruce. This team is stacked with talented hockey players, and they've now got 6 puck-moving defensemen, as good as they've had in forever. These guys can all pass the puck. Now, can they defend, and or will they get the goaltending that they need to? These are the questions, but this team can really attack. And especially when they put their minds to it. In the first 5 minutes of the game tonight, they were just electric on the attack. And this, I think, defines the team. And I think Woodcroft maybe is amenable to that definition of the team. Will go for it. I think he's a confidence builder. He strikes me as a confidence builder in his players, which is a big thing. It's not a small thing. And I'm not
Right.
saying that Tippett was deficient in that. I think he was a player's coach as well. That's what we always heard. Um, but I think Woodcroft he's a younger man. He knows all these players from a younger age. He's got his own set of. He doesn't have the favorites that Tippett had with the veterans. I think it's much more open for all the players to be the coach's favorite.
Mhm.
And I think we're seeing that. I think we're seeing a real explosion of offensive confidence right now on the team. And I give Woodcroft some credit for that. There's still like the even strength scoring numbers. We're just Connor McDavid's, I think, 75th or 74th in the NHL for even strength scoring 5-on-5 on a rate basis. That's terrible for Connor McDavid. Like honestly, it is.
That's barely first line.
Yeah,
You know.
he's the best. Is he the best player in the NHL? I mean, okay, well, score more.
Yeah.
you know. Um, he is, of course, utterly fantastic. And he's playing like that again. Like he didn't have that. Like I guess he was the first star. I thought he was okay tonight, but he was so good against against Tampa Bay. He was just out of this world good against Tampa Bay, and he still was looking good tonight. So, but what they need to do is establish some chemistry on some lines, and I think they're starting to do that a little bit. I like the Kane Yamamoto McDavid line. It's clearly got some chemistry. I think it's going to work out. Draisaitl, Hyman, and McLeod. Maybe that's going to be, but I think Puljujarvi will probably go in there for McLeod. And I know a lot of people love Ryan McLeod, and I really like him too. But I think yes, a Puljujarvi is a better hockey player and should go in there. And then McLeod will be, if you have Nuge, Fogle, and McLeod, let's say,
Mhm.
as the third line. How about that, Bruce? How does that strike you?
Well, they're certainly NHL caliber players, so I mean that's what you want. You solid players across your third line. McLeod, I thought he had a very frenetic game tonight.
Yeah,
He made some, he had 4 turnover giveaways in this game, which is not his usual style. And they had just a few plays where they had the puck on their sticks, and it wasn't just the Koskinen play, but where they didn't move with it. And some guy had come up from behind and take out. Lucas Raymond stripped the puck off of Connor McDavid, made him look foolish. McDavid was coming out of Edmonton's end with the puck, and Raymond just took it off him, and then he made a pass through, and Barry got beat, and Koskinen was eyeball to eyeball with the guy in deep in the zone. And there was a few plays like that. Brobery coming out of his own zone, and he was a little tentative making his pass. Well, guess what, Phil? You don't have the puck anymore. It's going that way, and it's going into your net because you didn't move with the puck and move the
yeah,
puck.
yeah.
You're sort of standing with it, looking around, and not skating very fast. And those guys were skating. And so Detroit had 12 takeaways to Edmonton's 6. And Detroit had 11 giveaways to Edmonton's 19. So that goes back to the game management that I was discussing earlier. That's one of the
Yeah.
places it shows up on the stat sheet.
So they play the Sabres and the Devils next, Bruce. But
Yep.
after that, this is one hell of a difficult schedule from then on in.
Hmm.
There's very few easy games. And there's lots of difficult games against the Wild, the Golden Knights, the Stars, the Avalanche, the Penguins, the Kings, the Blues. I guess they got a couple games against the Sharks and one against the Coyotes, but it's
The
stuff
high
like other than
scoring Coyotes are coming to town. That's my next
it's
game that I'm
yeah.
attending live, and that could be the way the Coyotes have been filling the net lately. I don't know what to expect.
So it's a tough schedule. I don't know if the other teams have equally tough schedules, but this is tough for the Oilers. They are going to be up against it. It was great they got this point tonight, and those two unexpected victories against the Caps and the Lightning.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
they're in it again, Bruce. It's on for it's looking better for the playoffs. And man, could this city ever use the Edmonton Oilers in the playoffs
yes.
and
Real playoffs with fans there. And
yeah, everything. And the arena district I think is finally ready to get rolling a little bit more, and bring some life to our downtown, which is dead, which has been dead for 2 years and is depressing as hell. It's a construction zone and it's just whenever I go there, it just seems empty and lifeless and horrible. Sorry to say, but that's what it's like. And that will be the moment that we've been waiting for. People who love the downtown and push for this arena project to enliven the downtown. This could all come together this spring. I'm hoping it does, and let the good times roll.
yeah. Well, they got to take care of business, and they got to win their home games, and they got to win the games against teams below them in the standings. And tonight they were uh, like 2 for 2 on that front. At the end of the day, even as the how the sausage was made was not all that pretty. In the end, it was 2 points are pretty tasty, I guess.
It's as good as the 2 points
A
against Tampa
little
right now.
indigestion just yet, but I'll get over it.
Yeah. Alrighty. Yeah. Alrighty, Bruce. Thanks for talking tonight.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.